Hey, what's up, fellas? I'm Malicious Female Fan, Steve Malicious here, and if 2009 you needed yourself a phone that not only could make calls and send out your texts, but also one that you could slather up with some butter, throw on the grill, and take a bite out of, then the Samsung Reclaim Slider may just have been your device. We'll talk about it today on this edition of Steve Malicious Tech. And we're back as always. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers, up over 4,200 as of the taping of this video. If you've been loving all the cell phones, all the tech, both new and old, go ahead and give that subscribe button a tussle. It certainly means a lot to me. So what the heck is he talking about? Eat your phone. Well, the Samsung Reclaim from late 2009 was made from 80% bioplastics, and 40% of that, or 40% of the total, I'm not quite sure which one, from corn. And if you've used corn plastics before, you know how cool they are. In fact, if you go to a NASCAR event, the straw that you get is corn, made from corn plastics. And unlike the paper straws that you get, now listen, I don't know the economics of it. One might be wildly more expensive than the other. But unlike paper straws that you get, you can actually finish your beverage with a corn plastic straw before it melts into the bottom of your drink. So I think it's preferable. And the plastics on this have held up incredibly well, and they feel great. So, what did you get? $50 from Sprint. It was a Sprint exclusive. This was back when Sprint had a lot of different exclusives. I won't say goofy exclusives. They had a lot of good devices, but they had a lot of exclusives. And just that, not only was this bio-friendly, eco-friendly, but this was during a time period where Sprint and Samsung were doing a lot of bio-friendly packaging, soy inks. In fact, I'm going to show some from the unboxing here. You could see it was biodegradable packaging with the soy ink manual and all the rest of it. So they were really into it, and nothing wrong with that. So we'll show a little bit of the unboxing. You can see that box. It held up fairly well over time, and it's going to degrade naturally and all the rest of it in a landfill or whatever, and had no impact on the environment, which is really cool. But let's look at the device. You get 2.6-inch display, which is not all dissimilar from the BlackBerries of the time, a little bit smaller, but you slide it up, full QWERTY keyboard, which is quite cool. And despite the compact size of it, the keyboard's actually quite nice. It has a nice feel to it. The keys are distinguished enough, and they're raised enough, despite the bowl there, that you could actually, now it's not quite full thumb typing. You're going to have to be a little bit careful, but if you're careful, kind of the pad of the tip of the thumb, fingernail, you're able to go through quite nicely on here and pound out your text and your emails with no problem. I've certainly used a heck of a lot worse. This is a nice, compact QWERTY keyboard with a good feel, and some special functions we'll show you in a moment. But let's look around the device itself. So you got on the front, charging notification LED. You got your speaker there, of course. You have your wheel here, which is 4-click directions, but also the OK button for confirmations in the middle. A back button. This speaker-looking button that might be used for speakerphone, but when you push it, it just pulls up the phone functionality, so we'll go with that. Your function keys, left and right, and also call accept, and your power button and call end. Volume up and down, headphone jack, because it does have some Sprint, it did have some Sprint music functionality while the servers were still up. You could listen to MP3s you could download on this, which is quite cool. You got your lanyard strap, because it is a quite compact device. It's nice. You throw that lanyard on there, you toss it around, toss it in the pocket. Nice feel in the hand. On the right side of the device, you got a camera button. You've got your micro USB port. You pull that aside for charging and transfer. And you also have a micro SD card slot for expandable memory. So you got expandable memory and a headphone jack and a feature phone from 2009. Some of the stuff you don't get on flagships here today. It's running the operating system. They called it either, depending on the article that you were listening to, it was either the Sprint one-click interface, or the one I'm going to go with, the Sprint carousel interface. So we'll go with that. But you can see here, quite nice. It's clean. It's a feature phone. It had a bunch of different things. The cool part is, if you have Red Pocket Mobile, you're able to get this. Now, while the 3G towers are still up and all the rest of it, it's an EVDO device, so you're getting 3G on this for data. You can still provision this over the air without a SIM card with Red Pocket pretty cheap. I was able to do that. I was able to get data So not only was I able to get voice and text, which worked great on here, the keyboard's fantastic, but I was able to get data on here. So I was able to do Google searches. Some of the stuff that required you to connect to the Sprint servers, which is a lot, it was email, navigation, some other things I didn't quite get a chance to use because those have been off for some time now. But the ones that just connected to the internet worked fine. Once you tried to go to any of the search result pages, you were in trouble. But you could still do stuff like that on here. Screen, for the time, nice and bright. I think it was 320 by 240. Like I said, 2.6 inches. But the colors are nice. It's a bright display. Quite good. No issues there. Backlit keyboard. In fact, I want to zoom in on the keyboard if we could get that to focus. So not only did we have the regular QWERTY keys that you could see there, if we could get it to focus, but you had an emoji key, very important in 2009, send your emojis to your friends. We'll talk about why. Dedicated space, dedicated period, question mark, which is good. Buttons for email and text, so you could just slide it up, hit that button, go right to text, and an enter button, which is useful when you're sending text as well. I always like that when they have that on QWERTY keyboards on mobile devices. So, eco-friendly, you can see this is the part that feels like the corn to me, this corn plastic on the back here. It's got kind of like a rubberized texture to it, quite grippy, but it's great because unlike a lot of the devices from this time period that had a rubber back, you know what's happening to those. They're kind of degrading back into the liquid that it was before they hardened it with whatever process it is when they heat it up and they make it into the mold of the rubber. It goes back to that liquid. This isn't doing that. This is nice and smooth, 12 years on, no problem, grip, great durability. I've carried this around for at least 2 weeks. I had no issue with that whatsoever. Oh, I almost forgot. 2-megapixel camera, which is fine, but one of my favorite features on these devices from this time period, quite prevalent, the selfie mirror to make sure that your mug was in frame. I always love when they had that. The selfie mirror is better than nothing, right? It's better than you just pointing and clicking and having to take 10 of them before you got yourself in frame. So that's pretty cool. The selfie mirror. Let's go through the OS real quick on here. So you had the home there. Let's try to keep it in focus. You had your text messages, which worked well. Voicemail. My account, you can look up your information. You personalize stuff, so you could personalize. If we could keep it focused, you could personalize the carousel there. You also had shortcuts you could put in MySpace, an in feature. You had the an app for MySpace right on the device without having to download anything. Facebook as well. You had navigation, Sprint navigation, which doesn't work any longer. Google, which you could look up stuff. You could look up. You have Gmail on here. You could have Maps on here. You could have YouTube. You could watch little YouTube videos on here. And then the internet you could go to. But what was cool for this is you also had a green glossary. So it would give you tips on what to do, saving energy, helping recycle, and all the rest of it to keep with the theme of the phone, which I thought was quite neat. So overall, a neat little device. And I really wish that we had more like this today. It seems like everybody on the manufacturing standpoint, so $50, right, this would have gotten you for a 2-year contract. I understand that's unrealistic these days, but instead of having a bad smartphone for $150, why not just a really good feature phone? I feel like not everybody needs all the functionality of a smartphone, especially if they're going to do it poorly, when they could do something like this, pack it with just enough, and have something that people might actually want to use. That's more prevalent in Europe and other countries. We don't really have it that much here in the United States. And I know KaiOS, I believe it is, does stuff that allows you Facebook integration, allows you WhatsApp integration, which is really cool on those flip phones and some other devices. But it'd be nice to see some more competition in this range here in the United States. Phones like this, this would have been perfectly fine. Let's say you just wanted to text friends, send emails, get your emojis from MySpace right there on the keyboard, all the rest of it. Listen to some music. You could get Sprint TV on here since it had the faster 3G connection at the time. Navigation, couple how-to videos, decent screen, color screen. And what the great thing about it is you charge this and you don't have to worry about it for a few days. You know, and that was a function of a lot of devices back then. In fact, my wife and I went away. We were away for 3 days. I charged up my Palm Trio, which I've still been using every day, by the way, also had the selfie mirror. I charged it up. I knew we were going to be away for 3 days. I didn't have to bring the charger because I knew I was okay. And the same with this device. So if you don't need a lot of smartphone functionality, it would be cool to have something like this. And hey, listen, biodegradable plastics and all the rest of it, the corn plastics, all the better if it helps the environment. But overall, really neat performance, neat device overall at a time period where Sprint was doing a lot of neat stuff. Samsung was doing stuff with like that. But a really cool little piece of history that you've got here that's still, for as long as the 3G towers are alive in the United States. And listen, if you live overseas, there's no reason why, if you're in a country that 2G and 3G isn't going away, there's no reason probably why you could be using this for that much longer. But here, Red Pocket, at least for the next few months, you could get it powered up, get data, get your texts and calls. Calls were actually quite nice. It was nice to make a call and do the slider function on it. Really cool. Vader helping us out, by the way, because he was always big on the environment. So overall, just a really neat device. Really cool device. I loved using it, and it was. We have plenty of these coming. We have another Samsung device, or I'm sorry, a Sprint device from the period on the way. I just won it on eBay today, so stay tuned for that in our old phone series as we say goodbye to 3G. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you had one of these, certainly let me know below how functioning was back in the day. We got the gray one with the kind of green accents, but there were some really fun colors that I weren't not able to acquire, which was a sky blue and also an eco green, which was really neat. But until next time, have that Steve-licious day.